Dirt on Trump and Melania in new book. I was going to write about Trump's legal team preparing to attack Mike Flynn's credibility, but that's actually less newsy than the Omarosa gossip is. What's the news in it? Of course Trump's going to call Flynn a liar if he accuses him of something. It's defense strategy 101, as one former federal prosecutor told the paper. Granted, it'll be awkward for Trump to suddenly go scorched earth on a guy whom he spent the past year praising in public and private, but POTUS won't let a detail like that stop him from nuking someone who threatens his presidency. I didn't realize how much of a liar he was until recently, Trump will say. The only thing that's newsworthy about any of that is the cognitive dissonance it'll provoke among populists who'll somehow have to reconcile their worship of the president with Mike Flynn's status as a MAGA all-star supposedly martyred by the deep state. They can't both be lying, can they? So let's talk about this instead. The story feels inherently sketchy because, A, it comes from a celebrity magazine, and, B, if it's true then it would constitute full nuclear release on Mr. and Mrs. Trump, an unlikely move for Omarosa given that her fame, such as it is, depends on her association with POTUS pre- and post-election. But there are also reasons to think it might be true. Insiders estimate Omarosa's juicy tell-all book about Donald, 71, wife Melania, 47, and Omarosa's time in the White House could command as much as $10 million. And it could be devastating to Donald and Melania's marriage. Sources close to Omarosa, 43, tell In Touch that they believe Omarosa intends to betray her former boss and his wife by spilling dark secrets about their marriage. This could be Donald and Melania's worst nightmare, says one Washington, D.C. insider. Political analyst Peter Matthews agrees, telling In Touch that a book focusing on the president's marriage would be very damaging. Who knows how he treats Melania in the White House and vice versa. Omarosa is a huge threat because of the bombshell secrets she may know. If I were President Trump, Matthews adds, I would rather have had her on my staff still. Another political source says Omarosa has dirt on the Trump-Sisi interactions. She knows how much time they spend together and whether or not they even sleep in the same bedroom, says a source. How much does Melania have to put up with? Does she really agree with her husband's stance on things? Does she believe any of the sexual harassment allegations lodged against him, or are they all lies? Does she plan to divorce him once they're out of the White House? All these questions could be answered. Expect a passage or two on Donald's daughter and close advisor Ivanka, 34, as well. Donald is captivated by his daughter. This is known. He cannot and will not ever say no to her. Ever. Omarosa knows that. Everyone in the West Wing knows that. So get ready for Omarosa to shed some light on that relationship, says the D.C. insider. She may also write that in Donald's eyes, Ivanka is the real first lady. Going after the Trump's marriage would be a fantastically ungracious move by an ex-staffer who was handed a sinecure at the White House by the president at the highest pay scale allowed and yet somehow still couldn't resist pissing off the chief of staff until he felt moved to fire her. But this is Omarosa we're talking about. Consider, 1. She was reportedly royally pissed at being let go, to the point where she attempted to go over Kelly's head by sneaking into the White House residence to discuss it with Trump himself. The fact that he hasn't reinstated her after she made her unhappiness known publicly may have shifted her anger from Kelly to Trump himself. 2. She's already threatened to spill White House secrets, not about the Trumps, necessarily, but about things she observed that made her uncomfortable as the only African-American woman in this White House. If she's willing to damage Trump by attacking his administration as racially problematic, shall we say, why wouldn't she attack him personally? She did say in the same interview I just linked that she's always been loyal to Trump, though. 3. When she boasted recently to ABC that she had more access to Trump than most advisors did, she wasn't boasting. Supposedly that was one of the things about her that drove Kelly crazy. Because she and POTUS have been friends for years, she was reportedly able to get around Kelly's gatekeeping efforts and whisper to Trump about who was bad-mouthing him in the media that day, which would start him fuming and distract him from the day's business. There's reason to think she'd know more about the Trumps personally than the average White House deputy would. 4. Getting personal with the Trumps would mean lifetime banishment from his inner circle, a point of no return. But look at it from her perspective. What does she have to lose at this point? He's almost certainly not going to rehire her while he's president. If he serves 2 terms, he won't be back in the private sector until he's approaching age 79. Even if he ends up a 1-termer, what's he going to do for her? Host another season of The Apprentice and bring her back for an encore? She's gotten as much from their relationship as she's going to get. $5. An Omarosa book about what she did professionally in the White House would stink. An Omarosa book about racism in the White House would be juicy. An Omarosa book about racism in the White House and Trump family dirt would be so juicy that it really might be worth $10 million given the potential sales. She's holding a winning lottery ticket in one hand and has nothing in the other but loyalty to a guy who just stood by while she was literally dragged off the White House grounds. Why not cash the ticket? Even if Trump never speaks to her again, she's set for life. Plus, there's nothing the left loves more than a turncoat Republican. Omarosa would be a welcome guest on cable news for the rest of Trump's presidency if she was willing to bash him regularly. One wrinkle, though. Would Trump have really let her go if he knew she had secrets to spill? Better to have her inside the tent pissing out than outside the tent pissing in. Also, isn't he notorious for getting employees to sign non-disclosure agreements? Maybe Omarosa thinks he wouldn't dare sue to try to enforce that.
The advice Melania reportedly gave Trump about dealing with Omarosa clearly didn't tick. Things seem to have taken an even more chaotic turn inside the already tumultuous White House after Omarosa Manigault Newman revealed recordings of conversations with several Trump officials. According to an Axios report published on Wednesday, journalists Jonathan Swan and Mike Allen wrote that even Melania Trump told POTUS to ignore Manigault Newman and her upcoming book, a piece of advice he chose not to take. According to Axios, the president's advisors suggested he held his tongue as far as Manigault Newman was concerned. Trump publicly railing against her would only boost her book sales, according to his advisors. But Trump let loose on Twitter anyway, referring to his former communications director of the White House Office of Public Liaison as, among other things, a dog. Those advising Trump to opt for silence, the report noted, included Melania. Axios reported, Trump said privately that First Lady Melania Trump had advised him to stay above it. But they knew he wouldn't be able to resist. So far, neither Melania nor her communications team have commented on the report. Bustle has reached out to the First Lady's office for comment. According to Axios, Trump's extensive background in reality TV seemed to underline his approach for handling Manigault Newman. Swan and Allen wrote that it was this kind of familiarity with reality television drama that may have pushed Trump to tweet about Manigault Newman on August 14. When you give a crazed, crying lowlife a break and give her a job at the White House, I guess it just didn't work out. Good work by General John Kelly for quickly firing that dog. The backlash to Trump's scathing tweet on Manigault Newman was swift. Even some of his longtime defenders seemed to distance themselves from him. Among them, Axios reported, was Geraldo Rivera, who tweeted on August 14, I fear my friend at Real Donald Trump undermines himself by using intemperate, boorish language to describe his enemies. I can't stand at Omarosa, a bully, backstabber, and big mouth. But to call her a dog and lowlife is beneath dignity of the office of at POTUS and open to ugly connotation. In the wake of Manigault Newman coming forth with her recordings, the White House appears to be scrambling. According to a White House official who spoke to Axios on condition of anonymity, from the folks I've talked to, and I know I feel this way, it's honestly more of true disappointment that Manigault Newman did this. The White House official also added, not because she's some pillar of integrity. But because at the end of the day, she was in the trenches with us, and that it's truly a bummer to think anyone can turn on so many people so quickly. The official also said that they believed Manigault Newman was clearly enjoying it. It's hard to say how Trump will treat this ongoing discord with Manigault Newman going forward, including if he will listen to his wife's reported suggestion at all. But if his August 14 tweet is indicative of his future strategy, it may not be too far off to say that White House officials' advice for Trump on this particular subject won't be heeded.